Ladies and gentlemen, those in between and those who do not align, welcome to the University of Idaho Vandal Esports Twitch channel. For longtime viewers and newcomers alike, my name is Phoenix, otherwise known as Navigator, and it is once again a pleasure to greet you here at the couch, Analytics Couch. Now my third time at the couch for the past two events, and now for our first regular season game of the season. Tonight is going to be our Rainbow Six game against Fanshawe College Fuel. We have some little organization history between them and our CS team. I believe this is our first time that our R6 team will be facing them. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I am kind of speaking out of my butt here. But before that, we still have some time before the game. So I'd like to open the stream up with a little interview with the university's scholarship director. If you would like to introduce yourself to the stream.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Meggie Cafferty, and I am in charge of the scholarships here, but I work with a great team in our financial aid office, and I love connecting students with scholarship resources from all walks of campus, and also helping to process all the scholarships that come from outside sources too. So it's a really fulfilling job, and the only better job is probably working in esports.
I would argue that this is a pretty cool job, pretty cool opportunity that I have. So big shouts out, obviously, to Vandal Esports. And speaking of your position as, formerly the associate director of scholarships, I think is what says on your LinkedIn.
Yep, that is my role. That's my official title. So I'm the associate director in financial aid, and I oversee all the scholarship programs.
I see.
That's correct, yes.
But I also saw that you have a certification in, I don't remember the formal title, but it was something along the lines of scholarship distribution. Do you, out of curiosity, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a set certification per se, but I've worked in scholarships off and on in financial aid. I've worked here at U of I for, close to almost a full 14 years as a full-time staff person, but I was a work-study student in financial aid before my full-time work, so it is definitely over 15 years considering those years of work-study. But I've handled everything from our state scholarships to institutional money to the outside programs, like I mentioned. So I had a long stint in federal financial aid in between my starting years in scholarships and now my more supervisory. I've leveled up to my new role, which is not so new anymore. I've been in my current role now for over 3 years.
Yes.
So that feels really good to be in a space where I feel like I know the work and I can make an impact and help lead our teams and just be that older voice, more seasoned voice, I should say, in financial aid on the whole. But scholarships is my jam. That's my favorite.
Yeah. And, we were talking about it a little bit before the stream as well, that you had helped me get a scholarship that has allowed me to continue, not to even come here in the first place, but to also continue staying here, continue studying, which has given me the opportunity, work with the esports program, help develop it into what it is today. I gave you a thank you, but I'll give you another thank you on camera because I'm super appreciative of the opportunity. I would not be able to be here otherwise,
Yeah.
Now, you did mention that you've been working with the university for a long time, but you also studied here as well in your latter half of college, because I believe you started at North Idaho.
Yeah, I took some classes at North Idaho College, and then I did do more of a traditional track at University of Idaho. I was living on campus as a student in Greek life, and then I moved off campus in my senior year, and then I decided to switch my career goals after working in financial aid for a while. So I did not go on to grad school in my initial intended area, which was anthropology. So then when I decided I better just stay here and hunker down in financial aid, this is a good place with good people and we're doing good work. That's what kind of swayed my mind. Otherwise, when I was a sophomore, junior in college, I thought, nope, I'm going to go out. I'm going to be an archaeologist. I want to be Indiana Jones, and I wanted to know about Egypt. I thought I was going to be an Egyptologist for a long time. When I was really little, I thought,
is that a real job
It's a real job.
Wow.
Yes. Obviously, a little more obscure nowadays. Yes. And now, of course, they'd probably use a lot more GIS sensing technology, some types of like X-ray technology. But yeah, and before that, I wanted to be a paleontologist because I love animals. I love dinosaurs. So I had a lot of change.
Yeah, I was like,
years.
and I think that's super interesting about college and like the experiences that people have between like work or other experiences that they're having during their studies that can really like shift their intended direction, right?
Yes.
Like my mom tells me this story a lot about how she initially went to school to become a historian,
Yeah.
and now she's like super into geology and volcanology,
cool.
and is just like renowned specifically for volcanology.
Yes.
And like it took one class for her to figure out that that's what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And had she not taken that class, she might have just ended up being a normal historian. Not to say that historians are like boring or whatever.
Yes.
I think that's an interesting field of work. But like had you not worked as a peer mentor, because you were saying that you had that work study job, that you might not have realized that this is what you wanted to do for a while. And it seems like you were pretty happy with that. You have been working with the university for a while. I believe you were like a technical advisor. Was that like more governmental aid that you were talking about before, or?
Kind of, yes. So way back when, we had different career ladders in financial aid, if you will. So we started out as technical record specialists, and then we were usually assigned to a certain subject matter. Could have been federal loans, could be private loans, working with more of the Pell Grant reconciliation, lots of like data heavy analysis and correcting errors and working with software systems to make sure that what the government's sending to us, we can translate into our own jargon and make it all work, and eventually make it work so that students can get their aid packages. But I worked in that technical record specialist role, and then I moved into a financial aid counselor role. And we used to be called advisors until we had a little bit of a realignment in what our job focus was, the scope of our work, how much student-focused work we were doing. So we were technical record specialists, then to advisors, then into counselors, and now we have assistant directors in our office as well as associate directors, and then our main head honcho, Danny Carlos, our actual director of financial aid.
Yeah.
And we're all part of the SEM division on campus, Strategic Enrollment Management, which is just fancy words for we want to get people jazzed about Idaho and jazzed about college, and then help them find their pathway towards making that a reality. So yeah,
it's interesting, like thinking about the bureaucracy. I like to put it. It's like there's so many like levels of involvement that every program has with one another, and not like I want to like specialize in those structures, but it's like a curiosity thing. I like learning about them. Now, in between doing that initial position with the financial aid department, I believe that you also worked as a wellness instructor for a few years. Was that like in between working with financial aid, or was that like after? Did you take a break from that?
Yeah, so really interesting. I started to take more yoga classes when I was in college, and I developed a really strong, committed yoga practice. And I was starting to think, man, I really love this. Like, it helps my mental health, it helps my physical health, it helps get me connected to a different community of people outside my normal haunts in like my work zone and my former like college friend zone. So I started to really sincerely think about becoming a yoga instructor in like 2012, 2013. And so I did a year, well, it was about a year, like 10-ish months long training here in Moscow. And we would come together for a long weekend each month. And there was like a 5-day intensive at the beginning and a 5-day intensive at the end, and homework and different class planning and all sorts of history and theory, and both like mental, physical, and more crash course in like Ayurveda, which is more focused in the Indian subcontinent. And so it was a very good, like well-rounded whole body system training. But I loved that. And I wanted to teach people how to also learn about themselves in a different way, start to hone in on what is good and right and wonderful about ourselves, and do that through a practice that is both physical and also mental, emotional. And certainly, like, I know my realm of expertise and practice. I am not a counselor. There are great yoga instructors out there that are counselors. And I am not an exercise physiologist, although I had to take a lot of contact hours with anatomy. But I know enough now. And I've been teaching yoga for, like 13 years, because I started teaching as part of my time in the training course. And then I have gotten other instructor certifications along the way in yin yoga, prenatal yoga, pre and postnatal yoga. And so I even did teacher trainings. I taught the teachers, the would-be teachers. So I did that for several years here in Moscow, and I've led retreats. I've done intro to yoga classes. I've done kind of collaborations with other instructors around the area. I had a little like training for kind of a yoga 101 on YouTube and in a closed Facebook group for a while. So that was really awesome. And now I feel like I'm starting to have this waning experience of yoga. Not that it's going away, but I've got 3 kids. I have my full-time job here. I do teach in Moscow at North Idaho Athletic Club downtown on Main Street. Just a local gym, but great people and great yoga community there. Like, sometimes assume that, oh, the gym, it's going to be just a lot of weightlifting and people,
like, big gym guys.
The gym goers, or like cardio bunnies, like running up on the treadmill, going off on the ellipticals, and nobody's just doing community stuff. Like, we're all there working on ourselves, and it might be happening in what feels like just this 2 ships passing in the night type of a way. You know, you are working out around other people, but then in the yoga classes, I do try to build community, get to know my students, have students always encouraging one another to bring friends, come back, try different people's classes at the studio. We have a good group of instructors that will step up and will sub classes for each other. And just, these are some instructors that I've known for years, being around Moscow together. And we also have great instructors at other places too. I always recommend people to try different styles of yoga, try different instructors, try different spaces. Some people just might feel super intimidated by going to a gym to practice yoga. And I did not teach in a gym for the majority of my teaching years. I was teaching at a yoga studio downtown. And my style of yoga that I teach and practice is more grounded in Anusara, which is a different type of yoga. Any type is great. Just find what works for you first and foremost. But that style is more about the principles of action, alignment, attitude, working on different physical alignment cues, the refinements of those cues, also thinking about the whole body system. So playing into what might be going on naturally, seasonally, astrologically. So yoga can be as woo-woo as you want it to be, or as like physiological focus, like refine the alignment, go in, check your stats, take your Apple Watch with you, whatever. Like, it can be anything that you want it to be. But I just really love that it is this constant in my life, even though, yes, I just said it feels like it's taking a little bit of a back seat at the moment. But I know that once my kids are older, I really want to do another 300-hour or a 500-hour training, because there's always more to learn. And we kind of say too, like, even though you might be taking another 200-hour training, or you might be re-upping a certification, we all have our own way of relaying information. So even though I might be getting very similar reminder type information from a new teacher, that person might have just this perfect, beautiful way of explaining something. And that might be what clicks with me in my state of life at the time. So I always consider myself to be a lifelong learner. I'm learning constantly in my job. I'm absolutely learning constantly as a parent, learning new buttons that are being pushed, or like learning new ways to bring in my yoga practice, having more mindfulness around what I'm doing, how I'm showing up for the people in my life, how I want to support people, how I want to receive support. So it's just wonderful to have something like that that's both a physical outlet, something that I love, that's a way I can contribute to community, that I can have as like this reverse contribution. I'm getting so much from being a teacher, from being a student. It's something that I can do even if I'm not feeling 100%. I can sit on my couch and meditate. I can sit in my office and meditate. So there's lots of ways to practice yoga, to be a student of yoga. Some of the most advanced yoga is just learning how to integrate what you've learned in class into a householder practice, and how you can be at ease with yourself and just love yourself for who you are. That's like a huge takeaway always for me that I love about yoga, and I want other people to feel, is you can truly be at one, at peace, in love with who you are. No matter what that looks like, you could feel like me. Like my example, I'm a mom some days first and foremost. Some other days I'm a partner first and foremost. Other days I'm my employee self first and foremost. And like there's always that ability to kind of ebb and flow with what's going on. But yoga is always there. You're always accepted for who you are. So I rambled a long time, y'all, but I love yoga. So
no, I get it. I like. We were talking about, this is our first interview of the season, but when I talk to other people normally, I like learning about like what I would say makes them tick is not the right word, but it's a similar of like what I'm trying to get at is like, things that people are incredibly passionate about, and things that are like very to their interest, and things that they've spent a long time kind of investing themselves into. And it seems like yoga is that thing for you. Which is really interesting. You don't typically know too much about somebody outside of what they do for work, especially when we do like faculty kind of interviews or like here on campus, right? For like literally anything. I also work with the production team for our Not Hot Ones spinoff called Joe's Inferno, which is super cool, entirely student run and produced. Besides Brandon from DSI, who we love and cherish very much, who's like our host for this show and stuff like that. And we have lots of faculty from campus on that show. And it's really interesting to see is like who they are outside of their job titles, right? And who they are like as people, and the things that interest them, and the things that led them to where they are now. Which, speaking of, obviously you've had a very long time involvement in yoga, like in your personal life, and like how you've again like invested yourself into it. But like, I guess we're gauging the relevance of this, right? But like, how did that start for you? Like, how did you realize that not only was that something that you wanted to spend more time like learning about and like applying, but also like realize you just like yoga? I feel like yoga has a bad stigma around it of being like this like overly zen like mindfulness thing, and I won't say like that were my impressions of it for a while, but they were. Like I didn't really see like mindfulness as my thing, but I see what it means to a lot of other people. And I'm curious of how that fire is sparked in someone.
So for me, I was going through a really rough time in my life, and I needed something that was a good physical outlet that I could feel like I could do no matter the time of day or the season of the year, something that I could find solace in and be inspired by. And so in 2010, 2009, 2010, I was like going through this rough patch. And so I found that yoga was a good next type of movement modality for me, because I had been in gymnastics and I did dance, and I liked the flow of yoga, if that makes sense. But I also liked that it was physically challenging, and also even in postures where you might not look like you're exerting a lot of physical energy on the outside, that surprising feeling of, oh my gosh, this is actually
takes a lot more effort
really
than you think.
hard.
Yeah.
Yes. So I liked that. And I like coming off of more of a runner's like physical modality that was my cardio, so to speak. Like I really liked that I could have a faster flowing practice that gave me that feeling of heat and warmth, or to being in a warmer room. Like, I think practicing in a room around 72 degrees is great, but other people love practicing in a really heated or like hot space. But there's really kind of an ability to just choose what will work for you. I really loved heated rooms initially when I was starting out on my practice. Not necessarily like did I love or practice what was like referred to then as Bikram yoga. Now there's like a whole huge fall from grace, terrible thing that happened with that founder of that type of practice. But taking one thing away, I love practicing in the warm room. So I really liked that for the cardiovascular aspect of it. But more so too, like I wanted that feeling of being around people. I liked the feeling of being in a class setting, in a group setting where the practice was led and I could just kind of come, and on the days when I needed to go into autopilot and just do what that instructor was saying, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in other times, other feelings, other days, I could really show up and feel like, okay, now I'm ready. I'm mentally ready. I can challenge myself. I can do this different variation, or I can go a little bit faster. I can hold this posture a little bit longer. And so in a way, it was this like constantly evolving option for me. There was obviously the prescribed postures that were happening in class and the different classes that were offered, but I felt like I could make it my own. And the more I learned about it, the more I realized, oh, I like the extra benefits of community, of feeling aligned, of the breath work. Like breath work for many people, my own personal opinion, like that can be enough to get people out of their heads, like to help calm the racing thoughts. And maybe you don't even need to do the physical practice. Just breath work alone, pranayama, can be super powerful and super grounding for people, or super just like refining for people. Again, like not that it has to be instead of or like above and beyond other types of therapies or like medicinal things, but as a supplementary thing, I think it's really helpful for a lot of people. We forget how to like deeply breathe, or we can feel just anxious or tense, and we only breathe like from here up, and we're not taking full belly breathing into our bodies. And so anyways, it's just something that I found in a time when I was a little bit like lost in life. I was going through this degree crisis of like, oh my gosh, I don't think anthropology is going to be my thing. What am I going to do? So, I mean, and now it's just something that's kind of morphed and changed. My reason for doing it and reason for coming back to it are different now that I'm a little bit older and I have been doing it and been teaching it. And so now I feel like I was saying before, I want to go back to being a deeper student. I want a different level of studentship again in it. And it's available. It's as available as I make myself available to it. And I love that too. It's always there, no matter what I'm doing or where I'm at. So as my life's changed, it's changed with me. And that's good.
That is super cool. I like my appreciation about it for you mostly just comes out of like, how that is changed for you. And like how you were saying it's like, now you're a parent and you have this higher position in your job. So your involvement with it has kind of taken a step back, but it's something that's like still constant for you, as you said.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I think things like that are super important. I think everybody should have something that they are allowing to be a part of their lives.
Yes.
One of those things for me is gaming. And now we're kind of taking a bit of a 180. We've talked about a lot about yoga and talked about wellness and mindfulness in that. Now we're going to take me to something that does not bring me any of those things. Tonight, as I was talking about, we do have our Rainbow Six match against Fanshawe College. What do you know about competitive gaming just at all?
Oh my word. Okay. So I know that it is actually like very competitive and super fun. I know that my oldest child loves it. Like she wants to come down here and be with you all and compete with you all.
Really?
Yes.
That's super awesome. Hopefully we'll to, recruit them in the future.
But I know there can be different kind of like levels or different teams that are happening. So there might be different games that are being played or like different levels of player that are in those games. But that's about embarrassingly the extent of my knowledge. So you can educate me. My mind is open.
All okay. I mean, for some people, it's a little more niche, right? Yes. I involve myself so much in the competitive esports space. And like instinctively when people talk to me, it's like, oh, I don't know too much about it. It's like, how? Yeah. But it makes sense. Gaming is still surprisingly a new thing societally, especially since how video games have evolved and adapted to changing climates, especially esports in particular, is not something that everybody is incredibly accustomed to. I think like the most public that some esports have gotten were like Halo and Call of Duty back in its prime, very like in the tens or the late noughts, right?
Yeah.
We had Overwatch League back throughout the later tens, and that was super huge just because of how much money was being fueled into marketing and stuff like that. And I think it's really cool, like what people know about it. And when I talk to them about it, it's like, oh, do you know about competitive gaming? Do you know about my favorite video game of all time? And R6, I watched a video recently Oh, okay. I missed that cue. I went into the wrong conversation topic, so that's my apologies. I was informed, unfortunately. I just
we gotta go.
We gotta go. Yes, the game will be starting very soon. But it was a pleasure to have you on the couch, Meggie.
Yes.
I liked learning about you. I would like to talk with you more in the future, off camera, but on camera and specifically on stream. We do have to progress into tonight's exciting match against Fanshawe College. Again, some organization legacy there between us and them, but I don't know how much in between this game, so we'll see how that develops into tonight. Going to bring you onto the desk now, but until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I have been Kaz, this was Meggie, and we hope you enjoy tonight's gameplay.
Go you, Idaho.
Yes. Go Vandals.